What is up, YouTube? Usually it takes a few seconds for this to kick in, so we'll give it a second and we'll go live. All right. Well, welcome to Custom Points Live. I'm Jarrett, and I wanted to talk to you guys about the new Bilt math. Not sure if anybody saw the recent frequent miler email, but they're trying to explain this new this new math from the Bilt CEO, where they've added another layer of complexity trying to explain this Bilt card, man. And I'm a fan of Bilt. I really like the Palladium card. I signed up for it, but I will tell you that the math ain't mathin' when it comes to rent payments or any payments for that matter for housing. So I wanted to discuss this 3.33 math that people keep perpetuating. And if you don't know what that is, just think of it like this. If your rent payment is $1,000 and the Bilt card, the Bilt 2.0, no longer allows you to get 1,000 points for that $1,000. That was actually a losing proposition for them. It turns out that Wells Fargo was very mad about this. So instead, what you have to do is put that rent on the card, which is really not on the card. It's actually just a pass through. So you're not able to float your rent anymore. And what Bilt is saying is that if you're able to spend 75% of that rent in non-housing spend on the Bilt card, whether it's the Palladium or not, they'll give you 1 penny per point, or excuse me, they'll give you 1 point per dollar. So they'll still give you that 1,000 points, but you're now having to pay a transaction fee. That transaction fee is not called a transaction fee, but it really is, because you have to take your 4% that you're getting in cash back for your purchases on that non-housing spend, and you have to take 3 of that out. So you're really only earning an effective 1% in Bilt cash, which, by the way, we still don't even know what Bilt cash is worth. Interesting. They say it's 1-to-1, but I mean, there's been a lot of issues, for lack of a better word, with the description of exactly how the Bilt cash is going to function. It turns out that you can only spend up to $1,000 per day of it. It sounds like same thing for the travel credits. And with that $1,000, you're also going to be losing that $1,000. You're also can only spend on a 2-night minimum. So the problem is you're limited in how you can spend the cash. You're not really sure what the value of that cash is. It's not clear in the travel portal if you're able to earn loyalty points with that hotel, for example, which you can do with other portals. Not all the time, but in some. And Bilt's starting to roll that out in certain hotels, but it doesn't seem like all of them. And now they've complicated it even further, which with this email from the CEO, where you can basically take away the option of paying with rent, you can take away the option of earning Bilt cash entirely and earn up to 1.25 points per dollar. So you're gaining 0.25 if you're putting 100% of your spend of your non-housing spend equal to your house. 100% of value equal to your housing spent in non-housing. It's so much fun. Well, let's forget about that 1.25 thing, because it's not really helpful and it's not adding up. But let's talk instead about this idea that we're perpetuating when you're hearing the 3.33 myth, I'll call it. The 3.33 myth is people saying that, well, if you do the math and let's say again, your housing payment's $1,000 and you put $750 in spend on that card in non-housing spend, you're going to earn 3.33 on that $750. Okay, that's true. Sounds pretty good, 3.33, right? But what you're not taking into account is that you had to put that spend on the card to get it. And if you're new to the points and miles game, you should know that any spend that you put on any card for anything should be optimized to be the best possible multiplier. Well, if you're looking at the spend as 3.33 for that 75% that's non-housing, then that other 1,000 that you spent on your mortgage is still zero, right? You're not getting any points for that housing if you're looking at it that way. So this 3.3 thing is really a fallacy. You're not getting 3.33. You're getting 1 on the housing, and you're getting 2 on the non-housing, up to 75%. So what the math really should look like is as follows. You're actually getting 1x for $1,000 in spend. That's what you're getting. And you're paying a 3% fee for it. So you're paying 3 cents in Bilt cash for 1 point. Now, again, we don't know what Bilt cash is worth. If it's worth very little, maybe that's a good deal. But assuming that Bilt cash is equal to what we described, or somewhat what we described, with it being hotels, that doesn't sound like a good deal at all. So let's just look at this 3.33 math. If you do that math where you're ignoring the housing spend and you're just looking at the actual spend on the Bilt, the non-housing spend using the Palladium card, for example, there's actually a better option than paying for housing, and that is to use plastique. I don't know how you're supposed to pronounce it. Plastique is the 2.99 fee, 2.99% fee. So I just did some math here for it to be equating, but doing that same math where your rent's $1,000 and you're spending $750 in non-housing, if you put that $1,000 on the Palladium card on plastique, you're actually getting in total on your non-housing spend, again, the same 3.33 math, you're actually getting 4.66x Bilt points. So that's 1.33 more than putting it through Bilt. And that answers the question about this 1.25 thing and the extra 0.25. No, thank you. Plus, on the non-housing spend, that $750, you're getting 9.33% Bilt cash. So that's 4.66x plus 9.33% Bilt cash. Sounds way better to me. Now, you are paying a 2.99% fee to get it. So let's look at the two scenarios. Scenario A, again, $1,000 housing payment. You're earning 2,500 Bilt points in total. That's 1,000 from housing and 1,500 from the 750 in spend, right, of non-housing spend. So in total, 2,500 Bilt points and $7.50 in Bilt cash, because again, you're only earning 1%. Now, you don't have a fee, but you're getting scenario A, 2,500 Bilt points and $7.50 in Bilt cash. Scenario B is even better. B is when you're paying your rent using plastic, still using the Palladium card, and you're getting 3,500 Bilt points, that's 1,000 more, and $70 in Bilt cash, as opposed to the $750 with scenario A, 7.5. And you're paying $29.90 in fees. So the question is this: is it worth it to pay $29.90 in exchange for an additional 1,000 points plus $62.50 in Bilt cash? That's the question. Would you accept 1 Bilt point plus $6.25 or 6.25 cents in Bilt cash in exchange for paying 2.99 cents? That's the question. To me, the answer is yes. I would pay 2.99 cents for 1 Bilt point plus 6.25 cents in Bilt cash. because I'm assuming that that Bilt cash is worth at least half of what it's supposed to be worth. 6.25 cents versus the 2.99 cents I'm paying in a fee. I'm assuming that's a wash. That leaves me with one Bilt point for free. I would rather get that one Bilt point for free, right? Essentially paying for Bilt cash as a wash, the value, right? Rather than not doing that. I'd rather spend the extra money, pay the 2.99% fee. So what this really did was it really confused not only the model of how Bilt was working before, but they didn't even do a good job of not only explaining it, but of making a case for why you should put your housing spend on this card. In fact, with 2.99% being available to you through Plastique, it doesn't add up. It makes no sense, because if I'm a big fan of Bilt and I like their points, which is the whole point of anybody who's signing up for this card right now, it's because they like Bilt points. Why would I not pay 2.99 cents to earn over 6 cents, 6.25 cents in Bilt cash, right? That right there let's just stop there for a second. Would you pay 2.99 cents for 6.25 cents in Bilt cash? Maybe. But more importantly, also getting another Bilt point. I don't know. I don't see any world where that math doesn't make more sense and that doesn't sound more desirable than putting that cash on the Bilt card. I mean, I don't see any world where paying rent through Bilt makes any sense mathematically for anyone. And I think ultimately that's why everybody's so frustrated, is they liked paying their rent with Bilt. But here's the thing, and I know we're 12 minutes into this video. It's more important for us to discuss. There's another option that Bilt still has, and it's very desirable, in my opinion. Instead of putting your rent on Bilt, right? Instead of putting your rent on Bilt, Bilt lets you put your rent on Atmos. This is the Atmos Summit card. The Atmos Rewards Summit card has a deal with Bilt where you pay the 2.99 or I think it's a 3% fee, but you get 3 points of Atmos. Where if you have a Bank of America checking account, you get another 10%. So you're getting 3.3 cents per point. Well, I personally like Bilt for the reason of transferring Bilt points to Alaska. So the question then is, would I rather put my rent on Plastique and get, like I said, 3,500, would I like to put it on and get 3,500 Bilt points? Because again, take off that 1,500 and it's really 1,000 Bilt points. So would I like to get 1,000 Bilt points plus $70 in Bilt cash and pay $30? Or in my particular case, 3,300 Alaska points, right? 3,300 Alaska points for getting the Bilt cash, 3,300 Alaska points for effectively $30. I would do that all day long. Much prefer to get 3.3x than get 1x. That's just me. Again, we don't know what Bilt cash is worth. Judging by the looks of this, for lack of better words, kind of desperate email that was just sent by the CEO today, 48 hours after the launch, not even, that is now complicating the housing payment thing even further, which I think is very telling of how much effort they're putting into trying to continue to get people to want to pay rent with Bilt, which I don't see that working for them, not using the Bilt card. They really should be leaning into what is Bilt cash and what's the value of it, because the whole rent thing is kind of done. they should have known it was done when Wells Fargo was, up in arms about it existing, and they needed it to change. I think that it's really, really obvious that they should have been putting thought into this launch this entire time. Now, they're probably a small team overall, relatively. They probably did the best that they could with launching something, but and probably needing to do it sooner than later because of Wells Fargo. But they launched something that they themselves have, in other words, indicated is half baked. The Palladium card sounds great as far as just a regular card for getting the housing thing. I'm going to keep using my Atmos card because I like getting 3.3, paying 3% for it. That's equates to around 91 or 0.91 cents per point, which I would do that all day. So the housing thing is not really something of interest to me. What really matters is, what is this Bilt cash worth that we signed up for this Palladium card? Because if you're going to put any spend on the card to try to keep gold status, you're going to be earning a significant amount of Bilt cash, right? Because if you're spending $25,000 in a year to get gold status, you're getting $1,000 in Bilt cash. That's what that 4% is. So you keep that $1,000, you add in the $400 in hotel credits, you add in the $200 a year in Bilt cash. Now you have $1,600 to spend, and you spent $25,000, which earned you 50,000 Bilt points. Every time you spend 25,000, anytime you earn 25,000 in Bilt points, you're getting another $50 in Bilt cash. You did that twice, so that's now another $100. So that's $1,700 in Bilt cash plus the travel rewards or travel credits. And the question is, $1,700 plus 50,000 Bilt points divided by the 25,000 that you spent for that. And also, don't forget, you got gold status, which hopefully comes with some pretty nice benefits that are with, transfer bonuses. The question is that worth it? Is it good to spend your money on the Bilt card? And in my opinion, the answer is yes. Even if Bilt cash is worth half of what they say it is, I would say that it's probably still in your best interest to, if you were planning on using a 2x card, it sounds like the Palladium is still better. That said, it's not amazing because the fee is $495. So if that Bilt cash that we just said is $1,700 in value, but we divide it by 2, then that's somewhere around $850. And you paid $495 for the card, and you're in real cash and real money. So you're really talking about $355 in net value. And are you really that much more ahead by spending $25,000 on that card? I don't know. I mean, for me, the more valuable way to spend would be on something like the Hilton Aspire card or the Hilton Surpass card, where you're earning towards a free night reward. You're not earning status, but you're getting status already with the Aspire. That's of course hotel status, but the value that you're getting from the Hilton spend, in my opinion, especially when it comes to the actual redemption side of things, is significant. It's very high. So for someone to put spend on the Palladium rather than the Surpass or the Aspire, it means that you're willing to value Bilt points very high, and it means that the Bilt cash offer, the 4% offer, is valuable. Now, keep in mind, you're getting 4% Bilt cash with any type of new Bilt 2.0 card. So in reality, if the Bilt cash is anywhere near what it's worth, you don't even need to spend the $495 to get significant value. You're still getting it with another card that you're earning 1x on, or the Obsidian, where you're getting 3x on dining or on grocery up to 25,000. So the 4x or the 4% that you're getting in Bilt cash is really the question. That's where Bilt should be spending their time. That's where they should be putting their thoughts and their energy in. What what are the limitations of Bilt Cash? How can they make it valuable to people? Because that's going to be their savings grace. They're not going to be getting people to be putting their housing rent, their housing spend on the Bilt card. It just doesn't add up. It doesn't make sense. You don't want to lose what would be potentially valuable Bilt Cash to just get 1x of a Bilt point. It doesn't add up. So they really need to like let go and rip the band-aid and say, you know what? Wells Fargo was mad at us. There was no way for us to make this work without implementing something like Bilt Cash. We gave people an option, right? They can still put their rent on it. But the reality is it doesn't add up. There's better things like Plastique that you can put your rent on. And with mortgages, there's probably some ways you can do that as well. So sorry, Bilt, but you're not there for rent anymore. You're not there for housing anymore. That was the goal originally. That was originally your value proposition. The business model has changed, and you have to just accept that. Now that it has changed, you do have people that are loyal to Bilt status, that are loyal to earning Bilt points. I don't know if I'm loyal to it. I like the Bilt points. I like that they transfer to Alaska, and I value Alaska very much. So, I think that the 2x catch-all is something that's still extremely viable, still something that people sincerely want. Maybe you don't have a lot of people that are still, excited about Bilt when it comes to housing payments, but you still have a lot of people that are really excited for the Palladium card. There are haters, there are people that don't like it, and that makes complete sense. The math isn't there for housing. And if your main draw for Bilt was housing, sorry, but it's not good math anymore. So recognizing that the writing was on the wall a while ago with the whole Wells Fargo thing, you probably would have wanted to put some thought into how else you were doing it instead. And that's why I did with the Atmos card. That 3.3x on a card that is earning me a currency that I want to turn Bilt points into anyway makes a lot of sense to pay 3% fee and get 3.3x points. That just adds up a lot more than this whole 1x for 3%. The math doesn't math. And if that's a problem for someone that was a happy user of Bilt previously, that's completely understandable that that's a problem. But it didn't make sense from a business perspective for Bilt. So it's just wishful thinking to think that they were able to pull something else off, because it just wasn't going to ever add up. So now that they're in a position where they essentially need to be a competitor of Plastique, they need to look at the fact that Plastique will let you use your card exactly as you want to and charge you a 3% fee. This whole idea of Bilt Cash was supposed to be, in their mind, probably a way for them to cover this whole transaction fee thing, right? They have a transaction fee. There's no way around it. So for them to still give you points for this spend that's not even going on the card, it's not going on the card. So they're not seeing any of the spend on your housing payment. So now they have to figure out, all right, well, how do I give more value on the spend that's not on the housing, right? Is they want you to put spend that is not for your housing on the Bilt card. That's obvious to, like, 1 + 1 = 2. They have to have you put spend that is not housing spend on the Bilt card, because the housing spend isn't through Bilt anymore. It's a pass through. It immediately goes to your checking account. So they're not seeing any of the fees on that transaction, on the housing transaction. So for them to give you any points for housing is going to be a frustratingly losing proposition for them, unless they get you to start spending a lot of points, or a lot of spend, non-housing spend on the card. So they're essentially saying you don't get any more free lunch for your rent or for your housing. We are still giving you the opportunity to earn something, which is okay, fine. But in my opinion, they should have just turned it off and said, housing doesn't work for us. We're going to charge you a 3% fee. We're going to compete with Plastique, and you can use any card you want through the portal. If they had done that and just completely been a copy of Plastique, I think that people would have been less mad. It would have been less transparent. And this whole Bilt cash thing would probably be a little bit more fleshed out because they would have seen exactly what the Bilt cash needed to be worth for them. But they should just charge the 3% fee. I mean, if you're not willing to pay a 3% fee to Bilt, guess what? You're going to pay a 3% fee to someone else if you're trying to extract value from your housing spend. If you're not willing to pay a 3% fee for your housing, you don't get any points for it. It's that simple. There's no one out here who's able to eat the fee that is associated with you putting your housing on a credit card. So I don't know, man. The people that think that are like up in arms that how could they do this? Of course, why wouldn't they do this? And then the other thing is like, of course they're having you put spend on the card to cover giving you a point out of thin air. They're giving you an extra point. For the only thing that the 3.33 math makes sense is from Bilt's perspective. They are giving you now 3.33, which is, again, very close to what the Atmos card gives you in spend on your rent, right? So Atmos is Bank of America. They're able to do that. They're able to give you 3.3 essentially on that spend, but you are paying a 3% fee. So that was generous of Atmos to basically have a partnership with Bilt where they're treating your rent spend like dining. That's a great opportunity, great multiplier. I think that Bilt should have looked at that opportunity and said, we should have done something like that. Still charge a 3% fee and maybe give you 3x on rent. That would have made perfect sense. And then you're paying a penny per point for Bilt for each point. I think that's probably valuable to them. Even if they did 2x, it's like it would have made sense. They should have just let you put the Palladium spend directly onto rent, get the multipliers from the Palladium card as if it was any other transaction. But they didn't want to bleed money anymore, and you can't blame them. So they wouldn't be in business anymore. Your Bilt points would be worthless. They've accumulated, let's think about what they've done. They have accumulated a fantastic amount of transfer partners. There is no other currency in the game that provides nearly as many transfer partners as Bilt does. What that means is that you don't have to worry about the opportunity cost of putting your spend on their card if the multipliers are sufficient. Now, 1x is not sufficient, but this Bilt 1.0 card with dining at 3x, that was pretty sufficient. Now, I didn't put my spend on there because when they came out with the Atmos card allowed you to have 3.3x on dining. You were also able to get, I don't know if I just did something here. This is my first time using this new webcam, and it just did the zoom in thing here. I don't know how to fix it. Okay, it's fixing itself. Gotta love AI. The 3.3x that you got with the Atmos card, it's not just 3.3x, because if you put $60,000 on that card, you're also earning another 100,000 companion pass. Now, for me and my family, we use Alaska all the time, so I'm definitely gonna put that spend on there. Now, if you do the math and you add in that companion pass for that 60,000 in spend, it works out that you're actually earning 4.95 up to the 60,000 in spend. 4.95x. Now, I don't know about you, but if I'm gonna transfer my Bilt points into Atmos points anyway, I'm gonna put my Atmos, my spend for dining on the Atmos card. up to the 60,000, and I'm not spending that much more on dining. It's not just dining. I actually have a lot of foreign transactions as well. But for me, yeah, thank you, Mr. Cool, Mr. Kakal. Sorry about that. But yeah, I'm gonna put that spend on the Atmos card for dining. Now, that was the only reason. If Atmos didn't come out, I probably would have still been putting spend on my Bilt card, because 3x for dining is fantastic. But you can't get mad at Bilt for not being able to live up to a free rent. There's no such thing as a free lunch. It's just not going to happen. So if you really do the math on the Palladium card, the Palladium card makes total sense as a customer. I'm still concerned what Bilt Cash is actually worth, because think about it like this. 2x catch all is always like the thing, right? You can find some 3x. How about, cashback cards? You can find one card that gives you 4x or 4% on everything. And it immediately got nerfed because too many people were doing it. You have now the Bitcoin card or the Coinbase one card that gets 4x. If you have to have $200,000 in Bitcoin on Coinbase for you to get that 4%. So they have to make their money elsewhere to cover that. And by the way, you're only getting that on up to $10,000 in spend per month. So there's a cap, because they're losing money, right? So these fees that they're having to cover this with, the most they can really give you and still be a business that has a profit is 2x. So the fact that Bilt's giving you 2x plus 4% tells you that 4% can't be worth as much as you want it to be worth. They're going to figure out ways. Like, for example, you have to spend it on 2 nights worth of stays there. 2 nights worth of stays. I'm just going to try to fix this while we're here. 2 nights worth of stays is going to be absolutely opportunity for you to be spending more money. How many times are they going to get you to spend on their portal and have you get more and more money from getting used to spending your Bilt Cash on stays there? You can only spend $1,000. So let's say you're using home away from home, and you have to spend no more than $1,000 in cash, in Bilt Cash, and you've accrued a lot of it. You're still going to have to spend $500 a night, plus you're going to spend more money. That extra money that you spend is going to help pay for the Bilt Cash that they gave you. So inevitably, you're going to spend a little extra money than what the Bilt Cash gave you. If you spend $25,000 on the Bilt card in the course of a year, and they've given you 50,000 Bilt points, there's not that much extra to give you, but they're also saying you have 1,700 of this currency that they've given you at that point too. Maybe they're looking at the math of how much money you put on the card, and they're saying, well, we're going to basically take the interchange fees and give all that back to the customer. I don't really know, but the math has to make sense for them, or they're not going to be in business. Maybe they're looking at it like, hey, if we get the portal going really hot, and people are using it, and they're all getting 4%, maybe that's, what? It's probably the portal. It's probably the goal was to make all of their profits from the portal, because they're putting 2x on the card and the other cards are getting 1x. So they're making some interchange on non-dining or grocery on the Obsidian, on the base card. But you can look in the comments. Nobody's interested in the base card. Maybe one person was still interested, but they're not doing the math on the housing thing. Maybe there's some people out there that are doing that. They were going to do the math, and Bilt said, let's make this card as simple as possible. And there's going to be some people that still think that it's better to put their housing spend on that card. I don't know. Maybe they're making some money on those people. They have to have some reason to have made that no annual fee card the way that they did, still earning 4%. But the 4% is a draw to get you to use their portal, and the amount of money that they're probably going to make from like commissions and selling hotel rooms and stuff like that on the portal to drive traffic in, they're probably making more money there that they'd rather just be every customer is a wash when it comes to points, but then they're all their profit is in the portal. That's got to be what it is. So if you're getting 4% no matter what card you have, that tells you that they have some money to play with when it comes to the portal, and so they provided value there. They're basically sharing their commissions with us in addition to the percentages earned. I think it's brilliant. I think it makes a lot of sense. The Palladium card is, think about it like this: the Platinum card. Who didn't love that mirror shiny Platinum card? I have one. I love it. Here it is, right here. Which, by the way, I should just do a little shameless plug here. If you send an email to custompointslive@gmail.com, I'd be more than happy to help you to use your points to spend on crazy vacations. I just got back from Costa Rica, Waldorf Astoria, where I was upgraded to a suite. That suite was sweet. They gave me a 2-bedroom. It wasn't just a suite; it was a building. It would have been worth $20,000 for 5 nights. I'm trying to find my folio to show you exactly how much I actually spent, but it's going to blow your mind when you see it. Let's see if I can find it. Anyways, here it is. So I'm not lying. Here's my folio, and here is all of the transactions. I know you probably can't see much here. Thank you very much, but I don't know if I make it any closer if you'll be able to see. But see all those credits on there? I don't know if you can see it, but there's a $200 credit, $200 credit, $50 credit. We used our Hilton credits for a $1,201 bill, $1,201.66. We had $1,200 in credits. So the total was $1.66. That's how much it cost for us to stay for 5 nights in a $20,000 for 5-night room and all those fees. I say that because I'm happy to help you. If you're not sure how to have that kind of travel for yourself, I'm more than happy to help you to show you how to do that. And I'm going to obviously charge for my time, but I also want to add in here that you'll be able to, if you spend a decent amount, this thing right here, I'm going to make an authorized user card for you that's going to say ADEX Elite Member, or it's going to say the name of what we end up calling this. ADEX is my other business. And what that's going to do is give you the ability to have another player 2 get into the lounge. It's not going to cost you anything. So you'll be able to get in the lounge. You'll be able to get gold status with Hilton. You'll be able to get gold status with Marriott. Pretty sure it also comes with global entry and something else. There's a couple other perks that you get without spending on the card, but you'll be able to get into the lounge for free just because you hired me to show you how to use all your points effectively. And I just use that example of the one that we just went on, spending $1.66 literally, other than annual fees, to tell you that there's a lot of details that I've learned about exactly how to get value from cards. I do it all the time. We just got back literally a week and a half ago from Baltimore, Arizona. It's not Baltimore. The Arizona Biltmore. The Arizona Biltmore was 3 nights used FHR on that. If you're not sure what that is, Fine Hotels and Resorts. But anyways, I just bring that up to tell you that there's other ways to get points. But the most important thing about this card here is that it's mirror. It's shiny. And Amex knows that there's a lot of people that will spend on this card, and they love to flash it and show it. And who doesn't, right? It's a cool card. That's why, guess what Palladium I got? The mirror one. But I'm saying that because it's that simple. We're that simple as a species that we want the shiny thing. We want to show off the shiny thing. And when we show off the shiny thing, we'll spend on it. And people are spending a lot of money on that card, like business owners, even just regular people, and they're only getting 1x. They're only getting 1x. So of course, if Amex is just making hand over fist of people that are spending on a platinum card, their regular, they're using it as their catch-all. They don't care about the loss of points that they're getting from that. They care about the amount of flashiness that they're getting from it. Well, Bilt was smart. They were like, all right, well, how about someone that's interested in points and miles? They're not spending that shiny card to get their to waste their spend, right? They're not only getting 1x. So what happens is you put money on this card to get the sign up bonus, and it goes away. And so when it goes away, what happens? You're not spending any more money on the card. Now Amex just has to get you with another sign up bonus. So they're in this thing where they're end up giving out sign up bonuses to people. That's where you have pop up jail, because it's just not a winning proposition for them to keep giving the same people the same bonuses. So now you have a company like Bilt that said, well, how do we keep them interacting with us? How do we keep them using not only the card but the portal? And they realized that if they put 4% of portal spend on the card plus 2x, they would attract people to spend for the 2x, which a lot of people are already doing with the Venture X. A lot of people are doing with other 2% cards or 2x cards. But now they're also going to get you to spend in the portal. You're going to spend in the portal because you're getting value, right? If you're getting the 4% value, no matter what that value looks like, you're going to spend in the portal to extract that value, because that's how these people think. That's how I think. That's how we think, that people that are interested in points and miles. So I think Bilt was brilliant, because they got me, who I like spending on my Hilton cards whenever I can. I like getting the $15,000 spend to get the free night reward, and I use that free night reward in very valuable ways for travel. And I did the math for myself, and I'm like, well, if you do the math and you're getting 3x and you're doing that for 15,000, that's 45,000 points. If you bought those 45,000 points at a half a penny each, I think that works out to be like $225. So that's 225. Well, I'm using the free night reward for, let's call it 100,000 points. That's another $500 in value, right? At a half a penny each. So now you're talking $725. And that person stayed and they're a Diamond member. They're getting $50 worth of food and beverage. Let's call it $25 easy in the even, and that's $750 in value. So you're getting $750 in value for spending $15,000. That's essentially getting a return of 5%, right? So the question is, does the Palladium card beat 5%? And we know that the Atmos points for me are valuable. I would pay way more than the 0.91 cents I'm paying essentially to extract value from Atmos when I pay with the Atmos card with rent for Bilt. But now you're also saying to yourself, well, what is a Bilt point worth to me? I don't know. I probably would spend up to $1.50 for a Bilt point, because I can transfer it to Atmos. Okay, so that's 3% right there. So now how do we come up with the other 2% to make this card, or over 2%, to make this card, the Palladium, more justified than putting it on, let's say, a Surpass card? Well, if they're giving you 4% in the portal, if that 4% is worth at least 2 cents in value, I think that I would put the spend on the Palladium card, especially because of Bilt having transfer bonuses, because you're spending towards status with Bilt. And status with Bilt isn't just this nice thing. Like, listen, a helicopter ride for being platinum, okay, that's cool. Like, sounds cool to take a helicopter ride. I'll feel like James Bond or something, But I got a family. I'm not just trying to take a helicopter ride with just myself. I don't know if I want my whole family in a helicopter. So the thing is, how do I get value from that tier of status? Well, I get these things called transfer bonuses, and A lot of companies have 15%, 30%, things like that. That's great. Bilt does this thing where they'll double the transfer partner, the transfer bonus. And the question is, who are they going to do this bonus to? Because everybody loves Bilt for their Hyatt, they love Bilt for their Japan Airlines, and they love Bilt for Alaska Atmos. And there's no way to earn Alaska Atmos any more than you can with Bilt. Um, Bilt also allows you to earn using Rakuten now. So you think about it, and you're like, okay, Rakuten Dining. I got to have at least silver status to get 100% in Bilt, right? Uh, Otherwise, I'm getting less than that. So Bilt is trying to get you to have status. The way you get status is with spend. When you spend, you get this funny money for the portal. And the funny money for the portal, people are going to want to extract the value from. So I think this whole entire thing is dangling the carrot of paying for rent and getting your spend with rent. That was the value proposition. But they're trying to bridge the gap between paying for rent and getting you to spend in their portal. And if they can bridge that gap, they have a viable business model. If they can't, guess what? All of your Bilt points are going to want to be, extracted as soon as possible because they'll be going the way of Saks Fifth Avenue. um, we don't want that. I don't want that. I love their transfer partners. I love the fact that I can earn essentially Alaska points in Rakuten. Um, Listen, Amex is great. I'm a big fan of Amex. I love earning Amex points. I think they're very valuable. I think their transfer partners are valuable. But there is no question if the transfer partners from Bilt are superior to Amex, because Amex has the same ones. Bilt just has more. So why would you ever consider putting spend on a on the Bilt card? I mean, on the Amex card that gives you 2x the business card, when you can put, and that's up to 25,000 in spend, I'm pretty sure. When you could the Blue Business Plus, when you could put it on the Bilt Palladium, the Bilt Palladium Shiny, it's going to get you 2x and 4% of funny money. You're spending towards status, which you could potentially get bonuses on. And funny money equals more hotel nights. Funny money, huh? Anybody? So I look at it like it's a smart way to get you to spend more money in their portal. They look at it as, well, we're gonna figure out a way to get them to spend so that they have to, like, okay, maybe they'll do something like your Bilt cash is up to $1,000 in value you can extract, but it can only pay up to 50% uh, of your spend at on the hotel, right? So you still have to come out with cash, with your regular cash, to cover the other half of the hotel. Uh, okay, I could see people still doing it and saying, "Oh, I'm getting." It's the same thing as $300 from FHR credit, and buying a $600 after taxes and fees hotel room. You got $300 from FHR, and you're getting $300 that you have to put in. I think they're looking at FHR and they're saying, man, that was such a brilliant thing. They're giving people $300. And that's the other thing about FHR is, why did FHR get increased, right? Because it was $200 before for the whole year. That's not a lot of money. Inflation. Let's give them $300 twice a year. And, of course, people are going to extract as much value as they can from that. But, people are still using that FHR credit and they love it. They got so much positive, good news. Amex came out with an $895 annual fee. Everyone was upset, but they're giving you $600 in FHR credit instead of just $200. Well, now it's a popular proposition. So people are excited to, get more credits to use towards travel. Not a lot of people are extracting the value I am with Hilton, which I love doing, but why not? I'd love to get more value from FHR. That's why I do. But now with Bilt, they're saying, well, how do we get them to spend money in the travel portal? How do we get them to not um, leave the platform and continue to spend money on the platform? Let's make the card shiny. Let's give them their 2x. Let's, give them their status with transfer bonuses. And all of those things can combine. They'll look at this funny money, even if it's a little overinflated prices in the portal, it still adds up to more than that 5% they could get from a surpass card or something like that. And you know what? If we're giving them the equivalent of over 5 cents on the dollar, they'll put their spend on this card rather than on the Palladium rather than on the other one. So I think it's smart. I think it's a brilliant decision on their part to put this money on, or to put the Bilt Cash on the card. I think it's a smart move. I think the 3.33x math doesn't math. I think that you got to look at from the perspective of Bilt and the fact that there is no way they're going to give you money for nothing. They can't do it anymore. Wells Fargo proved it. And you just got to get this housing idea out of your head. Once you get the housing idea out of your head, you can look at the Bilt Palladium card for what it is. You can see that they're just trying to get you to spend on their portal. And listen, we'll find out in the first year if that was worth it or not. And I'll take a 50,000 point bonus for a 495 annual fee. I'm essentially buying Bilt points for a penny each, and they have my attention for a year. If they can prove that I'm getting more than 5% in value when all is said and done on the Bilt Palladium card, and that's not including, the fact that I have all these transfer bonuses, but just specifically from the card itself. If I can get more value from that, and they're okay with what's happening with their portal and whatever spend I'm able to put on and get it out of there, maybe it's worth it for them. Maybe that's valuable. But if it doesn't add up, if the Bilt Cash is not sufficiently valuable, then the 495 is not going to add up, and they'll have to do another version of Bilt 3.0. I hope that doesn't come to that. I really hope that we don't lose, the value of Bilt Cash. I hope that they put some solid thought into how we can get the value to be what it needs to be. But right now, I don't think that we should be dying on the sword of 3.33x. It's not real. That's not a real. That's not pop. That you're not adding up. 3.33 is on 75% of your non-housing spend. You're not factoring in your housing spend. So you have to factor in the housing spend. And it just doesn't add up to 3.33x. I'm sorry. It's 3.33x only from the perspective of non-housing. So just get the idea out of your head, pay your rent with Plastique, or better yet, Atmos. Get your 3.3x for 2.9 or for 3% fees. And that's basically it. If anybody has any questions or needs anything from me, like I said, you can send me an email to custompointslive@gmail.com. I'll be more than happy to help you. Really glad that you guys were able to participate, and I'm going to still be going live from time to time to discuss this. Be interested to see what else comes out. I just saw Danny the Deal Guru email pop in, so we'll see what happens with Bilt. I really hope that they figure this out, because the Palladium card seems good, seems like a good fit. And if they can figure out the math on the travel portal to make sense for the customer and to make sense for them from a business perspective, and they're not giving out too much commission, and they get people to successfully spend on that Palladium card to then spend in the portal their Bilt Cash plus their real cash, I hope that math works out to be in their favor and work out for everybody, because I don't think anybody wants Bilt to go away. I think we just want Bilt to makes sense from a user perspective. So, anyways, thank you guys for your time. If you watched through to the end, I really appreciate you. Please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that bell icon so you know when we go live in the future. I'm Jarrett, again, with Custom Points Live. And if you have any questions or you need anything, shoot an email, custompointslive@gmail.com. I appreciate you guys so much for your time, and I wish you all the best.